Hello everyone, welcome back to Pommy in Oz. I hope we're all doing really well. It is a wonderful Sunday. As you can see, obviously first, if you are new around here, please like, please subscribe. It does mean the world to me. And if you could, just join me in a little bit of gratitude to the Anzacs. Hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people lost their lives during two great wars, serving this country and allowing us to do things like this today, share our opinion without fear of repercussion, without fear of being locked away, and from the bottom of my heart, knowing someone personally to me that fought in one of the wars, I can't thank you enough. Let's hope, lest we not forget, let's hope that happens. And we're talking about heroes, and we go on to my team, Carlton Football Club, who at the moment are probably the entire opposite of heroes. And we're on the back of, what, an 18-point loss to Brisbane. And sure, we're going to have people say they're a top 8 side, top 4 side even, and we held it close. We had that against Port. And for me, that's part of the problem at the moment. I look at this team, and it's... Even Teague's press conferences, it's almost like everything is apathetic. Like, it's searching for the positives until the point that... I feel like we're 6 rounds away from one of the positives being we started the game with 22 blokes with 2 arms and 2 legs, and we ended the game with the same frequency rate. And it alarms me because, for me, we stand for so much more as a club. And we're year 6 in the rebuild now. I mean, this is the never-ending rebuild. I'm just waiting for that giant dog-like character to come and carry Teague away from a press conference. Because if we're at this stage of our journey, and we're like, oh, well, we can't beat the top 4, that is our mindset. Like, why do we even show up on a weekend? The team, the fans, why? Is my big question. And it's okay, you can say we had moments, but I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't the best at French, but I had my moments where, you know, it was complete stellar service, you know, in French. Like, honestly, you would have been baffled. And it just hurts. I mean, to break it down, let's break it down in a constructive way before I lose my nana on this one. Structurally, we are horrific. And you saw that in the first quarter. We'll digest that for a second. That was the quarter that I got a few PMs actually saying, because, you know, I tipped Brisbane to win this game. Where are you now, Pommy? Well, I'm here. And I've never been one to shy away when I make a mistake, but I'm not often wrong, unfortunately, and that's because I'm real, and I want them to get better. And if you think that first quarter was good, fair enough, but we lived in forward 50. We lived there. And we were, what, 8 points ahead? I mean, and it's lack of composure, it's little things. It's that Levi Casbolt kick where there was zero pressure and he manages to hit the man in front of him. It's Eddie Betts not spilling the marks. And these are senior players. You've got to remember that. You've got to remember that just structurally in that first quarter, it wasn't quite there. And it's okay, we put a bit of intensity up, but, you know, Brisbane, you look at their numbers the first quarter, they hadn't shown up. That was Port Adelaide in the 4th, where we got a few cheap goals and made the scoreline look respectable, and some of us, you know, went away saying there's hope. I mean, there is the issue. Like, we always look for a positive. How can they get better when our coach is saying we took a step in the right direction at the end of the game? Mentions inside 50. Like, he says inside 50 is more than I say I love you. And I've got a house full of kids and a wife, so I say I love you quite a bit in this house, believe it or not. But he says inside 50 is more than I probably say it in a week, I love you. Which, I mean, we didn't even win that count. Like, that's what's baffling. You break this game down into its statistical raw data, it's a close game. It is a close game, but there's obviously something missing. And in the first quarter, why it looked good is because some of us were getting excited that the boys were tackling. The boys were putting a bit of pressure on it. And that beggars belief that they're doing the basics and we're getting up and about it. Like when you go to work, like, just, this is my question to people who got excited about that first quarter. When you go to work, does your boss have a mariachi band lined up at 5 to 9? You're walking into your desk And they're going... He made it on time. 5 minutes early. Like, they don't, do they? Because it's expected. Like, it is expected. The raw essence of our beautiful game is you apply pressure. You apply a bit of pressure to buy yourself some time. And I thought it was ironic in the first as well that Teague talks about that and says that I thought we handballed it a bit too much in the first half. And you know what is ironic about that? And this is the thing that I question. When Brisbane brought their intensity and they brought a bit of heat, we clung on. And there was moments of that quarter, our best passages were when we handballed it. And I say this every freaking week, that handballs are the only way that you stop a forward press. You stop a forward press by that. Watch Melbourne last night, after us. Richmond have a very high forward press. Absolute splendid pressure they do. They're a very good pressure-based side. And the handballs were through the charts. They really upped their handball ante. And that is how you get out of it. And we look really good in that. But then we go back to the kicking, and we are the high school bully at the moment. You know, we look great. You know, shirts off, we look fantastic. But, you know, when we actually are stood up to, when, you know, a young man stands up and says, enough is enough today, young lad. I ain't giving you my lunch money. We cower. We fold. We're looking for our mums at a dramatic rate. Please save me. And that is the issue. Like, I don't even think you can teach that. I think that comes from within here. And there's a few blokes out there that do stand up to that and go, you know, chests out, no more. But there's a lot of them that don't. And sometimes I feel sorry for Teague. I mean, I don't think he can't coach. I know he does. I know he can't. Like, that is blatantly obvious. When you've got Liam Stocker playing one of his first games for a couple of years, and you decide to pair him on Eric Hipwood with a height differential of me and my nana, I mean, that says it. Structurally behind the ball, we're probably the worst side I've ever seen, and I'd probably count under 11's footy in that and all. Like, structurally, we're horrific. The systems, everything feels like for show at the moment as well. You know, everything feels like for show about this club, and it's like we're desperate to distract from the real issues. I made this joke to Debbie O'Connor, and don't give her hate, because I know she's super positive. She is super positive, and it winds me up and all, right? But that's who you are, and I'm not going to sit here and start bagging fans, because people are different. But what I will say is this, right? I said to her that our club has a mantra when we're going to lose. And, you know, Monday we have an irrelevant story when everyone's asking questions about Carlton Football Club, about John Barker's parents fought during the war. The week before we had a visit to a hospital. These are all nice things to do, but it distracts you from the real question. And we just go out of our way to distract ourselves from asking the real question. And that's what worries me, because it feels like the club does that. The club is doing that. The club is actively going out to distract itself from answering the questions that might be a little bit hard. And I ask this question to the fans that don't be negative, and I ask this to David Teague, the board. What do you think happens if you're criticised? Because if you're telling me these 22 blokes, half of them maybe, might get a little bit upset, well, that is your answer of, are they good enough for this job? Because if they get upset, and it gets to a situation that they're so upset they don't do something about it, they're not fit to play the game. Quite simple. In fact, I would say that about a human being in any line of work. If they can't take criticism, don't do it. Don't do it. Stay in your house. Because it's the natural way of developing. And I find it baffling, for me as a fan, that I go in the forums after the game and you've got 70% of you spot on. Ball movement is piss. Tactically, we're pissed. Structurally, we're pissed. That zonal marking, defending crap. Like, how many times does Teague have to watch? All you've got to do is chip it round, and it folds like a pancake. And no one's addressed that. But it baffles me that the fans show more fight and heart, saying, oh, Patrick Cripps is a bit pretty, let's not freaking get on his case, than our team do. And you're not paid for that. Like, my mantra is fuck Cripps. If people want to have a go at him, have a go at him. As long as it's not personal, because that performance was abject. We were never in that game. And it's okay saying it was 3-point goals. Some of them were token goals. I mean, it was jump time stuff. Outside of Harry Mackay
and Sam Walsh, that game was nonchalant. I mean, when you've got Jack Noons, when God blessed his soul, I love Jack Noons, but all he's got about him really is gut-rotting, cool hair. I mean, he looks good-looking, doesn't he? And he can kick it a bit sometimes. And he's not tracking back. You've got issues. You've got issues because the way I see it, it starts from the top, this, and it's okay saying sack Teague, sack Cripps as captain, you know, install a Womble on the ball because he might show a little bit more art than the players that are doing it now. But it goes from the top, and I think ever since the salary cap, and this is how far we're going, as a club, we turned our back on win at all costs. And I hear it now, people slag Elliott off. You've got to remember, and I speak to a lot of players that were around that time, every club was cheating the system. Every club. We're just stupid and we got caught. And we went away from that to the extent now that social enterprises, financial, how we look in the community is far more important than what that F in CFC stands for, which is football. The rest are side quests. And it's almost like someone has mirrored at that board, win at all costs means you cheat and you're horrible. It doesn't. I'm telling you it doesn't. I mean, I can guarantee you it doesn't. You can still win ethically. You can still win ethically at that, but you set yourself a standard. And just go back through the AGMs. There's never any talk about the rebuild or where it's going. That's the side project. The positive projects are, we've got a new gym now, the players can lift £500 for bands. Or, we've got a jacuzzi now. Right, Cripper can do his hair while he's freaking warm and getting bubbles. And they're having a fucking bubble at us. Look at the end of the game. Simpson at West Coast sounded borderline like this was the end. Like, do you know what I mean? If you started playing Frank Sinatra's Now the End is Near, he would have, probably freaking had a cry. You had to give him a tissue. And T comes up, and he looks forlorn. Like, he looks devoid of answers. I thought it was quite amusing the third quarter time that some idiot's taken a picture at AFL Media and said, T glaze into them. Watch that back at the end of the third as they go out for the fourth. Players look disinterested. There's players looking around going, wonder, if the Crown will serve tonight. Hey, do you reckon we can get food at the Crown? Like, they're not invested, man. Like, and I find it hard to be invested. Because it's becoming scriptural. It's almost like this is a shit episode of Home and Away. And we're part of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, just look at the breakdown of them numbers this week and how easy it was to break us down. Like, I've seen posts saying, we put pressure on ourselves, we kick a goal, and they find it so easy. The great Shankly once said that the most vulnerable you are in a game of soccer is after scoring a goal, because we have the same as you, we have a kick-off, our version of a centre bounce. And he was like, the great teams go for one more, where the not-so-good teams admire their work and get broken down. We get broken down so easy, because there is no application, there is no stand and fight. There's almost like 2 goals and Carlton's little brainwave comes through and they're like, it's happening again. It's happening again, isn't it? And before they know it, 5-goal runs, and the game's a total different game. And we were never in that game. We've got to be honest with ourselves, and it's time the club started being honest. It started, we did. I'm sick of finding positives, because there is none. There is none. We're a top 8 side. That's what the board has said. So anything short of that is a failure, and it's time that we admit that. And guess what happens when you admit something's wrong? You can start changing it. I mean, Stocker at half-back, he might look good in the VFL, but it's not what he's about. I mean, to see a kid as talented as he was, and I was fortunate enough to see the kid play, he's a very good footballer. I'm telling you, he's not a half-back flank. Don't care what the clubs say. It's not his native beast. If you want his skill set down half-back, go and find one. There's a few, because half-back flankers, it's a cushy role, man. It's a cushy role. There's a few of them out there. He needs to play on the ball. And our best players to our worst, you see the effort and intensity written all over them. I'm not even going to list them, because I can't be bothered, to be honest. But it's obvious, isn't it? Like, just take Sam Walsh as your poster, as your pillar of acceptability. Because that's what this club should stand for. That should be the minimum requirement to play for my fucking football club. What Sam Walsh does. And There was times that a 3-goal loss to Brisbane, I'd be loving it. I would be. I'd be singing, saying we're a year behind Brisbane. We're about 10 years behind Brisbane because they have heart, they had determination. Half their players were injured, and I've seen some statements like, "Oh, but they came back on." They were screwed, bro. They were screwed. Like, Lockie Neal's played 3 quarters, and I can attest to this because he's in my dynasty side. On one leg, man. And he still managed to find the ball 24 times, and he still managed to impact to an extent where we've got blokes with 2 legs that can't half as impact as that. And it feels like it's for show. I keep saying it. It feels like it's for show. Everything feels at the moment like it's a facade to keep the masses happy. And until someone has the cojones to stick their neck on the line and go, you know what? I'm better than this job. I'm better than this job. And that's what it is. People are just asking for the job. Mark McClure alluded to it the other week, that there's people here at Carlton that will say anything to keep their jobs. Well, if you care about the club, fuck the job. Because the job is greater than one person. Start being honest. That wasn't good enough. That's nowhere near top 8 standard. To even have the audacity to say to me, you felt like at stages we took a step forward, is pure banterville. Because he couldn't even give us a stat, because there isn't actually a stat we won apart from the free kick count. I mean, there's some inconsequential ones like handballs. We touched the ball a bit more times than them. But aside from that, the hit-outs, we won that. It was pants. The centre clearances, we won that. But again, it's not to advantage. It's for sure. These are Mickey Mouse stats. Anyone can throw it on the ball. And what I find ironic is we continue with this zonal system and this kick, predictable, methodical ball movement. And we've got players we've brought in on big freaking kahunas in Williams and Sard that they need to be running onto the ball to impact it. They're useless if they're stood there kicking it, and we're seeing it. People are saying they're a waste of money. Well, they are. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, an Alienware laptop is absolutely grouse, but if you're just using it for spreadsheets, it's a waste of money. And I don't know how you fix it. Like, there's so much wrong. Tactically, structurally, selection-wise, messaging off the field, focus off the field. There's so much wrong that I don't even think if you brought in a dream team of freaking Clarkson and freaking Ruse doing backroom, you could fix it, because it's ingrained now. Starting to be ingrained, and it's ingrained to the extent that...
Go back 5 years at every press release from the board. They have indoctrinated us into being prepared to accept mediocrity, to the extent now we'll fight between ourselves because someone dares have an opinion that maybe we stand for more. And we do. I'm telling you, I'm sorry. I'd never tell someone they're wrong, but you are wrong in this one. We stand for so much more. And it's dying. Every week this happens, we get further away from where we are. And it's heartbreaking, because as a team, there's players there that are talented enough to play finals. There is, without a doubt. But we're setting them up to fail from the opening bounce. It's so easy, it's so predictable, and it's a little bit too hard at times, and we get found out. I mean, the VFL, I saw that was an absolute grouse game. There's some great points there, but, I mean, Dow had his moments. 6 tackles the young fella had, but he was played on the ball. Setterfield, back on the ball, dominated tackles and contested possessions. It's crazy. Play in your position and it works. And if we're serious moving forward, the only way I can think is we've got to bring fresh pairs of eyes into this. And it's okay saying, oh, you can't make mass changes. Why can't you? I bet West Coast makes some decent changes. We've seen some decent changes this season, 3 or 4s. We have to. I mean, we have to start bringing in that next line and sink and swim. It has to happen. We need a fresh bit of impetus. Because one thing I'll give Setterfield, there was impetus all the way through the game. All the way through the game. It wasn't a great game, and I'm not going to say it was. But he had impetus, he had heart. Honey needs to come in. That forward line is appalling at the moment. Gibbons looked poor as well. We need pressure. We need to lock it in there, because we need more chances than the average bear. All, in summary, the scoreline flatters us, and we should be at a stage now where we're so far ahead of being flattered by scorelines and looking for inconsequential stats that you should just know And I just can't see it. I think it's a long road. It's a long road. And next week it ain't going to get easier because Essendon, they're weak, but they always show up and they play for a fight. I'm heartbroken, honestly. And we're going to get people that are going to play up to it and, you know, get excitable anger for entertainment. And they don't mean it. It's time that we're passionate and we're real. We're real and measured is my message to all of us. Real and measured. It hurts. We move on. We stick together. More importantly, we love the club. But be honest. Be honest where we are. Palm out.